Hello, everybody. I'm Pranay from S&P Global Commodity Insights, and I have with me Sheen Mao, right, with whom I would be discussing about the decarbonizing of the fleet. Hello, Sheen Mao.
Hi, good to see you.
So, what are the key challenges in decarbonizing the bunker fleet?
The most significant challenge is actually still the availability and the price of the marine fuels at that bunkering port. Because for bunkering vessels, unlike ocean-going vessels, which you have multiple ports to choose from, it's closely linked to the port which is supplying the bunker at. So because of that, it doesn't have that kind of option to say, look, I want to go to port A or port B to get certain kind of fuel. And another sense as well, different from ocean going vessels, bunkering vessels, they are mainly doing loading operations, STS operations, and bunkering operations. So the training pattern is very different. They do more shorter voyages and more, cargo operations, and therefore these considerations are different. So in energy efficiency, technologies are not as useful as compared to ocean going vessels, and that's why we come back to a point where the availability and the price of the marine fuel is the most significant factor in helping bunkering fleets to decarbonize.
Thank you. And how do you think the industry stakeholders can collaborate to address these challenges?
For the bunkering vessels, it's a very unique kind of situation because while they would want to decarbonize by themselves to achieve national, rules and regulations, but bunkering fleets are actually very much linked, to the international shipping community, and therefore sometimes we really have to engage the wider community to understand, are we going down the right path? What may be achieved, what we might be able to achieve on the national requirements may not be applicable on the international front. So, for example, now when we look at the EU ETS and we are looking at the fuel MRV, there might be some scope 3 reporting for our customers, which will be our scope 1 and scope 2. And then we need to ask ourselves, do the marine fuels that we are using, are they applicable? Will they be recognized as well? So for us, because it's a very expensive, and it's a very difficult kind of journey, we require a lot of dialogue with different stakeholders within the industry and make sure we get it right. So these are the main things that there has to be a lot of back and forth with all the different stakeholders of the bunker industry.
And what role do you see the new technologies, right, having in decarbonizing the bunker fleet?
For new technologies, again, it's important to identify the right technology for the right situation. So, because of course, bunker vessels are also vessels themselves, and a lot of times we do speak to classification societies, we do speak to technology providers, and some of the technologies they provide, for example, like air lubrication systems, might be more relevant to vessels which are doing international voyage, whereas for other systems like battery storage systems might be more applicable for bunker tankers because again back to the nature of the bunkering operations. So for us, definitely, these are important things to take into consideration. Another important technology that we foresee is that whether or not fuel cells can actually be developed for bunkering vessels as well. Of course, purely to use batteries and electricity, I think we do find that for bunker tankers of a certain size, it might not be that applicable, at least for now with the current technologies. But we do see that if you need additional power, you need additional you know something more for your bunker tankers, a stronger kind of fuel, then perhaps other low or zero carbon fuels such as ammonia or hydrogen, which very much further down the road might be useful. And again, that's where we need to be very selective of the technology that we use for the type of vessel, type of trade that we are facing.
And can you provide some successful decarbonization examples in bunkering fleet and what were the lessons learned?
I think one example, of course, would be the Singapore bunkering fleet. In 2022, the Singapore announced that it has a decarbonization target of by 2030 to reduce the hovercraft fleet, which includes the bunkering fleet, by less than 15%, the absolute carbon emission less than 15% compared to 2021 levels. And then again, this year they made announcement that by 2030, of course, we want to achieve net zero, but what it also means that by 2030 we want to have vessels that are coming in have to be able to be able either be able to burn biofuel up to B100 or compatible with net zero fuels. So what this means is that there has to be a lot of long-term planning. there has to be engagement within industry. And for example, now if we bring in new bunker tankers, they must also be able to hit the 2030 targets of being able to at least burn fuels that meet the 15% reduction. And all these are things that you cannot suddenly do it when the time arrives. It has to be planned maybe 5 years, 10 years, and in this case for 2050 is to be done at least 20 plus years before. So for us, I think this is a key example where the whole community, private sector, public sector, and not just with the local community, but with the international community continuously engage one another. What available technology? How do we meet this target? How do we keep it as a level playing field? All coming together to make it a success.
Thank you, Sheen Mao, for your inputs. Thank you so much.
Welcome. Thanks.